All right, guys, this is 2.5 writing equations. So in this first section, it's asking us to write the slope-intercept form of each equation given the slope and y-intercept. Now remember, slope-intercept form is the one you guys know very well. Y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is the y-intercept. So when we come down here to write this, we have y equals, your slope is m, so negative 2 over 3, x, and your y-intercept is negative 1. So then moving straight down on the worksheet, there we go. Moving straight down on the worksheet, we now have this one. So we have y equals a slope of negative 3 over 2, so over 4, negative 3 over 4, x. And then we have this plus 0 for the y-intercept. Because adding 0 changes nothing, we don't have to write it. And then the last one that we're going to do is a slope of negative 1. So when you have a slope of negative 1, x, and a y-intercept of a positive 3, that 1 is implied. So we can get rid of the 1, but you must keep the negative. So the most simple form of this equation would be y equals negative x plus 3. So I want you guys to do 2, 4, and 6 and use Canvas to check them. And we're going to move on to these. So this is slope-intercept form. We're rewriting each of these from standard form to slope-intercept form. So there's 2 steps to getting this done. If it is truly in standard form, the coefficient to x will always be positive, but sometimes it's not. So we're going to write steps as if it could change. So the first step is always to move x and its coefficient. Step 2 is to divide everything. So every part by y's coefficient. So for example, in this first one, we have 6x plus y equals negative 8. So our first step is to move x and its coefficient. It was positive, so we're going to subtract it. And that leaves us with y equals, I like to put it in mx plus b form because it says to put it into slope-intercept form. So I want that negative 6x to go first because negative 6 is my slope. There's x, and then there's your y-intercept. So because y has a coefficient of positive 1, we are done. So if we move straight down this side of the worksheet, we have the next one. To move that positive 3x, we subtract 3x from both sides, and then we're left with negative y equals negative 3x minus 1. They're not like terms, so we cannot combine them. We just line them up. So there's still this implied negative 1 touching the y. So at this point, we need to divide all parts of this equation by y's coefficient of negative 1. And then we're left with y equals negative 3 divided by negative 1 is positive 3x. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1. So moving down to the next one, we have a positive 2x, so we're going to subtract 2x from both sides, and that leaves us with negative 3y equals negative 2x and a positive 6. So now, like step 2 says, we divide each part by y's coefficient, and then we simplify. So y equals negative 2 over negative 3. The negatives cancel each other out, so we're left with 2/3 x. And 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2. So I want you guys to look at number 12 before we move on. Because there is no y in this equation. We can't set it to slope-intercept form. So this is as simplified as it gets. And this would be a vertical line that passes through your x-axis at negative 8. So I want you guys to try numbers 8 and 10 on your own and then use Canvas to check it. So as we move along, we now are working with graphs where we have to translate it into slope-intercept form. So our y-intercept is 4. So I'm going to go ahead and write b equals 4. And then my slope. So here's the next pretty point where the grid lines and the line all meet. So to get from one point to the next, I go down 1 and to the right 3. So down 1, right 3. Negative 1 over 3. So it's a negative slope because from left to right it is going downhill. So that 1/3 must be negative. So now when you plug it into y equals mx plus b, we have y equals, your m is negative 1/3 x, and your b is a positive 4. So I'm going to flip to the back and leave you guys to do the next one on your own. So number 15. The y-intercept is way down here at the bottom of our graph, which is negative 5. So b equals negative 5. Then we have to find the next pretty point, which is this one. If you use a further away pretty point, that is okay. And I'm going to use this one to show you guys why. So at this point, we can go up and to the right, which lets us know that it is a positive slope. So it went up 6 boxes and to the right 4 boxes. So that leaves us with rise over run, 6 over 4, which simplifies to 3 over 2. So even if you had used this point where it's rise 3, run 2, or the other one, they still simplify to the same number because the slope of a linear function is constant. So when we write our equation, we want the simplest form, that 3 over 2x and your y-intercept of negative 5. All right, the only other one I want to do with you guys is this one. So this one has a slope and our y-intercept. So the y-intercept is right here at negative 1. Our slope, we travel up, we found the next pretty point right here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 up and 1 to the right. So it's positive if it's going up to the right. So we have 4 over 1, which simplifies to 4. So when we write our equation, we have y equals m is 4, x plus b is negative 1. So again, use Canvas to check the ones we don't do, and we're going to move right along. So this one wants us writing a linear equation given the table. So the first thing I want to do is look at how my numbers are changing. So on this side, I have to add 2, add 2, add 2. On the right side, I'm adding 1, add 1, add 1. So because it's the same all the way through, it is a constant rate of change. So we have 2 over 1. So our slope is 2 over 1, which is equal to 2. Your y-intercept has an x value of 0. So our y-intercept is also 2. So when we write our equation, we have y equals, our slope is 2, x plus b, which is 2. So then on the next one, we have 8 to 5 is minus 3. 5 to 2 is minus 3. 2 to negative 1, minus 3. So then on the other side, we add 1, add 1, add 1. So our slope is negative 3 because we subtracted 3 over positive 1, which simplifies to negative 3. So when we put it in y equals mx plus b, we have y equals our m is negative 3, x, and our b, remember, is where the x value is 0, so our b value is a positive 2. So the next one is this one. So sometimes looking at your negatives are not the easiest way to see the rate of change. So if you look at your two positives first, it can help you. So I know to go from 2 to 6, I add 4. Negative 2 to 2, yes, it's still add 4. Negative 6 plus 4 makes negative 2? Yes, it does. So then if we look at how our x values are changing, we have negative 5 to negative 3 is add 2. Negative 3 to negative 1 is add 2. Negative 1 to positive 1 is add 2. So our slope is that positive 4 over 2, which gives us a slope of 2. So when we write our equation so far, we have y equals 2 is your m, x. But now if we look at our x column, we don't have a 0 amount. So the 0 amount would fit right between these two. And if we know our slope is 2, then we can say 2 plus 2 makes 4. So 2, 4, 6. It should still follow a pattern. So when we plug this in, now we know our y-intercept is a positive 4. So I want you guys to use the last 3 as your practice ones in order to really solidify things. And make sure you're checking these on Canvas.